with the intervention of IoT. Generation and storage options, they were mainly centralized. You had in conventional grid, they were mainly centralized, whereas in smart grid, you have distributed energy resources. Power quality for digital economy. Now we are, you see, if the quality of power is not there, it would become very difficult for me also to interact with you. This interaction is becoming possible only when you have good power quality. So there was just focus on outages on conventional grid. They never responded to power quality issues. Power quality was never concerned. But in smart grid, the power quality is a pricing, and they have their own standards. They have their own pricing options. Response to system disturbances. The focus was on protecting assets following fault. That is, you want to protect your assets. That is it. Now the focus has changed. The focus is on self-healing. They want to prevent, they want to minimize impact to the consumer. In fact, there are certain parameters which define what is the consumer cost of outage. Let us say that if I don't get power today, the whatever intervention of things I kept in generation my refrigerator, they can also get spoiled. So that is the consumer cost of outage that we have to experience. Resilience. Conventional grid was completely vulnerable, whereas smart grid has rapid restoration facilities. Now, what are challenges on IoT applications? If I apply IoT on smart grid, what are the challenges? Security is a common threat to all IoT solutions. You see, wherever we are putting an IoT solution, and computer science people should definitely work on this. Manjari ma'am spoke about this, the security concerns in great detail yesterday. Controlling action can again be communicated back to device so that the appropriate control action can be taken. So similarly, this security can be a common threat the user to all kinds of problems. Sometimes, in fact, I wonder when I hear about all and the grid can be made driverless car. That what if I put in a destination that I want to go somewhere? All right, Mr. Harish is asking me this question. Harishji, please send your query again. I would like to take it. All right. So sometimes I wonder, Harishji, I'm not able to hear you. You're asking some question? Let us say that if I am driving a self-driving car, if I am riding a self-driving car, and if I put in a destination that I want to go over here, and if somebody is able to hack it, let us say that it is not secured enough, if somebody is able to hack it, where would I land? So that is a common threat to all IoT solutions. So connectivity, your system needs to be always on with a minimum delay for data processing and feedback. You see, if I don't get the adequate bandwidth at my end, and if you don't get the adequate bandwidth at your end, Ruchi Patwardhan is asking me of all the sources, clean sources, which is turning out to be economically viable. See, you have, if I talk about the various renewable sources, you have solar, wind, hydro, and biomass. Hydro and biomass have definitely different characteristics, that they have the same characteristic as that of the conventional generation. They are available all the time. If you compare the solar and wind, initially we considered wind to be the most optimum. Now solar is picking up with advancements in technologies. So your system needs to be always on with a minimum delay. Ocean thermal cannot be an option at all the places, and that is why ocean thermal cannot be considered to, since it is not available everywhere, and that is why it has limited access. Solar and wind, they are omnipresent, and that is why they are considered more viable options. Integration challenges that may also arise because you have the Edison's grid, and then you are trying to integrate with the Kevin Ashton system. So the integration challenges may arise when you need to connect your new IoT network to the existing legacy systems that often rely on outdated technologies. So that is one problem that we have, and these are the challenges which need to be catered before we actually go for IoT to facilitate the smart grid. Now, you see, Rome was not built in a day, and that is why the transition from the grid to smart grid is not easy. It would be, as Tripta ma'am also said, that we have to take smaller steps. And one such small step is to go for microgrid, make it smart, and then integrate this microgrid into the smart grid infrastructure. And that is how we turn the grid slowly into smarter grid. So this facilitates easier transition from the traditional grid to the smart grid. A solution for the reliable integration of DERs, including energy storage systems, power electronic converters, controllable loads, monitoring and protection devices. So you see, when you have to connect the intermittent resources, it is easier to connect them at the microgrid level. At the grid level, it becomes very difficult to connect them. Even the energy storage systems. So a smarter microgrid presents a more viable option. Future of the smart grid depends on increase in number of smarter microgrids. So what we do, it is a top-down approach. We build up many microgrids, make those microgrids smarter, connect various smart microgrids so that we get a smarter grid, and this can be a part of the smart city framework. That is how we go for. So before we go further on the IoT applications on the microgrid, let us first briefly discuss what is a microgrid actually. You see, microgrid is a grid at a micro level. Basically, if I have to put a layman's definition, I can define it like that. They are the electricity distribution systems containing loads and DERs that can be operated in a controlled, coordinated way, either while connected to the main power network or in the islanded mode. The size can range from few kilowatts to megawatts. So it can so happen that I install a microgrid at my rooftop. That is also a microgrid, and then you can have the microgrids which are ranging to the range to which have the range up to megawatts. In fact, the largest microgrid in the world has been installed. There's a small island nation of Palau in the Western Pacific Ocean. They have installed the world's largest microgrid of the capacity of 100 megawatts, out of which around 35 megawatt is coming from solar, around 45 megawatt hour is coming from storage, and the rest is being obtained from diesel, so as to have a base load as well. It has been expected that once it's being completed, around 45% of the need would be of this entire nation would be supplied by the this microgrid only. So this is the layout. You see that there's smart technologies which can connect various microgrids, MG1, MG2, 3 and 4, they all represent. This is a nest of microgrids which are being connected by smart technologies. This is a nest of microgrids which can again interact with the bulk power system via smart technologies. So that is why what we get is a smarter system. This is the complete layout of the smarter system. What are the features of the smart microgrid? It uses the sensing, communication, and control technologies which traditionally the grid was not using. Electricity is supplied by diverse range of DERs. So that is one important feature of smart microgrid. Intelligent load and energy resource management. This is the need of the hour. Unless until we go for the load and energy resource management, both from the consumer end as well as from the utility end, it is very difficult to continue with an efficient system, integrate storage, load shifting, prioritization, base plus variable generation with smart grid. These are all the features of smart microgrid. Self-healing, again, self-configuring. What is the difference between the self-healing and self-configuring? Let us say that a fault occurs somewhere. A grid should be able to assess where the fault has occurred. It should be able to segregate that part from the rest of the grid. Should be able to self-configure so that the maximum amount of load can be restored as soon as possible. So that is the self-healing and self-configuring feature of the smart microgrid. It can so happen that there is a smart microgrid operating in one area, and if a fault occurs, it should be able to communicate with the neighboring microgrids as well. And if there is a surplus generation over there, it can obtain the power from there as well. So even that can be done. So you please look at the basic microgrid architecture in order to understand the control structure. So this is the complete microgrid. I request you all to please mute your mics. Please keep your mics in muted position. Please keep your mics muted. So this is a microgrid. You see, it comprises of various distributed sources. So here you have the distributor source, which is a photovoltaic panel. You have the wind turbine generators over here. This is a diesel generator, which is over there. There are various loads which are also being connected to this network. And you see this microgrid is being connected to the grid also at the point of common coupling. This is a specific feature which allows the microgrid to operate as and when required, connected to grid, as well as in the islanded mode in the event of any fault, if that occurs. The storage is also being integrated. Now you see there are local controllers. There's a local, each load is being facilitated with a local controller. Also, the DER which are being integrated, let it be the wind turbine generator or the diesel generator or the storage or the photovoltaic panels, they all have their independent controllers installed at their connection point. So you see all these controllers, you see these are blue dotted lines are the communication lines. They are being connected to a microgrid central controller. So what actually happens is that this microgrid central controller sends a command to all the controllers, all the individual controllers, be it the load controller or the individual generator controller, to operate in a controlled and coordinated way. What generator should be dispatching what amount of power, what load should be there, and what load should be shared off. That all is being decided by this MGCC. This MGCC also controls the voltage and frequency at the point of common coupling. Microgrid central controller also decides whether the microgrid should operate in connection with the grid, that is in the grid connected mode, or in the islanded mode. This decision is also being taken by the microgrid control central controller only. So the presentation is stuck. All right. So what are the enabling technologies? We have seen that we now require this grid. This microgrid comprises of several controllers. Now, how is this being realized and how is this being made possible? So, what are the enabling technologies? So, first thing need is the information and communication technologies, two-way communication technologies with necessary software and hardware. The grid, microgrid should be able to communicate with grid. Grid should be able to send the signals about the voltage and frequency. Microgrid should be able to take appropriate controlling action. So this is possible only when you have two-way communication, and that is why these technologies are imperative. They are essential. They form the basic infrastructure of the smart microgrid and the smart grid. Open architecture for plug and play of home appliances, electric vehicles, and micro generation, so that they can be controlled anytime, anywhere. Once you have this plug and play feature, the data can be accessed from the clouds and the appropriate controlling action for the home appliances can be taken. Now, there are many companies, in fact, which are providing this controller. If you install it at your home, I think Okta is providing it. If you install it in your homes, you get various devices connected to it, such as your geyser, your air conditioner, your washing machine. You can turn on and turn off your device using the mobile applications remotely as well. So that can be done if you have that kind of architecture. Software to ensure and maintain the security of information and standards. As we have seen that security is a major concern when it comes to the microgrid, and that is why when it comes to IoT applications, and that is why you need to ensure the security. I need to be ensured that my devices which I'm installing at my home, they will not be hacked by someone else. So that has to be done. Sensing, measurement, control, and automation technologies. You need to have the intelligent electronic device. I can design a smart system, but what if the device which is at the receiving end, if that is not smart and if that is not intelligent, it will not be able to receive the controlling signals as well. And that is why the smart devices or the intelligent electronic devices, they form the basic infrastructure of this entire setup. Phasor measurement. You see, there's a difference between the measurement and the wide area measurement. If let us say that you're already familiar with SCADA, that is supervisory control and data automation system. What is the difference between the SCADA and wide area measurement? If you see, this is SCADA. If you call this as, if this can provide you with an X-ray of the power system, this wide area monitoring, that is by using the synchrophasor technology, this can be called as the MRI of the power system. This SCADA can provide you with, let us say, 2 to 4 samples One sample every 2 to 4 seconds. I'm sorry. Whereas this, with the help of synchrophaser, you can obtain as many as 30 to 40 samples in 1 second. So you see the amount of dynamics which can be captured with this wide area measurement using the synchrophaser technology. We can obtain the timestamp signals via GPS satellite. The integrated sensors, measurements, control, automation system, they all form the basic framework of the smart grid system. Smart appliances, as we discussed, and smart meters. These smart meters, in fact, act as the communication channel between the utility as well as the consumer at the consumer end. Power electronics and energy storage. We never thought that the power electronic interface would become so important. But now, with all the renewable energy integration coming in, you see, be it the solar photovoltaic or the wind, or anything else, they have to be connected via the power electronic interface only. With solar, you have DC, so you need to have a DC to AC converter so that you can get appropriate the technology on the receiving end side. Similarly, when you have wind, wind has variable speed, and that is why the power is being generated at variable frequency. Again, you need a power electronic interface to cater to that needs. So this becomes essential part of the infrastructure. The fact devices. I heard Dr. Behra was talking about the smart transmission line yesterday. The smart transmission line can be achieved only with the help of flexible AC transmission system. This can increase the transmission capability of the transmission line so that more the power which is being generated can be put on the transmission line up to the maximum capacity. Filters so as to improve the power quality. Energy storage devices so as to maintain the redundancy and to smooth out the fluctuations. In fact, you see this wind and solar, if they're complete, since they are intermittent in nature, and if we want to plan an isolated power system which is completely dependent upon just PV and wind technologies, we need to, the integration of storage becomes essential. Otherwise, we will not be able to smoothen out the effect of intermittency which comes in. And that is why storage becomes an essential part of the microgrids with intermittent sources. So the classification of microgrid, there can be various possible classification. I am just putting that classification, which is important to discuss the controllers. So based on type of interconnection, you can have the AC microgrid, the DC microgrid, or the hybrid microgrids. So AC microgrids, you can see that you have a common AC bus over here, and the various sources which are being connected, they are connected. Let us say that if you have a PV panel which will generate DC, so this is connected via DC to AC converter. Then you have wind turbines connected via AC to AC converter, energy storage system, DC to AC converter. So you have the common AC bus, and even if the DC sources are connected, they are being connected using the appropriate power electronic interface. The AC loads can be supplied directly. For DC loads, again, we need to have the power electronic interface in between. So as there are various loads. Let us say that if I'm using a laptop, if I'm charging the mobile phone, which require DC, even at our homes as well. So that requires the appropriate conversion technology over here. In fact, this type of concept is picking up lately, that you should have both the kind of supplies coming in your home. Instead of having, let us say that this adapter, that is also a converter. You have a converter in this. So the efficiency suffers. What if I have separate AC and DC supply coming in my homes, so that whatever runs on AC can run on AC, and if I need a DC, I can use appropriate supply which is coming to my home at low voltage DC as well. So that is also one concept which is picking up. AC loads can be connected directly. If you have a DC microgrid, you have the voltaic panels which can be connected directly. Wind turbines, the AC sources need to have the AC to DC conversion. DC sources can be connected directly, such as PV and energy storage systems. DC loads can be connected directly. However, the AC nodes again need to have the appropriate interface. Now, you have seen the AC microgrid and DC microgrid. The concept which is coming up is, why not to have the hybrid AC DC microgrid, so that you can have the advantages of both the world. You see, this is a hybrid microgrid, and this has been picked up from one of my publications in IIT Renewable Power Generation. So you have the AC bus as well as the DC bus. In the previous figure, if you see, the DC microgrid just had the DC bus, AC microgrid just had the AC bus. You have both the buses over here, the AC bus as well as the DC bus. If you have an AC source which is producing AC, it can be directly integrated to AC bus, such as the DFIG. If you have the DC source, such as the battery or the PV source, it can be directly integrated to DC bus. DC loads can be directly connected to the DC bus. AC loads can be directly connected to AC bus. And you can have, this is the heart of the system, that is the automatic central microgrid controller, ACMC. This is an intelligent controller which has the bidirectional AC to DC main converter, which can take care of the power flow from AC bus to DC bus and DC bus to AC bus as and when required. So, with appropriate controlling action, this can be realized. If you see the modes of operation, and if you can recall back, we had discussed that the microgrids are connected to main grid at the point of common coupling, and as and when required, the microgrids can remain connected to grid or they can operate separately on their own as an individual isolated power system. So you have two modes of operation, the grid connected mode and the islanded mode of operation. Now, when it is operating in the grid connected mode, the control is much more simpler.
Priyanka?
Because you see, yes, ma'am.
1 second, who is talking?
I think, ma'am, the participants are still not muting their mics, and that is a problem.
No. Your voice is coming again.
It is echoing.
So somebody has recorded and playing that.
I don't know, ma'am.
Yeah,
Still, it is coming.
I don't know. Somebody has. No.
Somebody has recorded and playing it again. Is it still
Ah.
coming, ma'am?
Yes, it is coming.
Yes,
Yeah,
even I
it's
can
coming.
hear it. It is coming, ma'am. Even I can hear it.
So what to do?
Participants, I request the participants to please cooperate. And if, ma'am, I think that possibly they are running the YouTube channel simultaneously.
Yes.
And that is why this problem is coming. I request the participants, please mute your mics. And, ma'am, I think it is fine now. Ma'am, Tripta ma'am, can you hear me? All right. All right. I can see that participants are saying that it is fine now. All right. So you have two different modes of operation, the grid connected mode and the islanded mode. So you see, when you have the grid connected mode, the grid is the infinite sink and infinite source of power. So a thing which is operated in grid connected mode doesn't have to worry about the voltage. Grid connected mode doesn't have to worry about the voltage and frequency regulation. The deficit power can be supplied by the main grid, and the excess power generated in the microgrid can be treated with the main grid. So at all the times, the balance of the power can be maintained. However, if it is an islanded microgrid, it requires all the control because now it is all by itself. If the load increases, obviously the voltage and frequency, both the parameters are going to change and they will drop. If the load decreases, the voltage and frequency can go beyond the bounds. So the responsibility of maintaining the balance of the load and the generation is more typical in the islanded microgrid. And that has to be done. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt you, Priyanka.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, somebody is playing the background.
Ma'am, because I have muted my speaker and that is why I can't hear that. I think you will be able to hear it.
Yeah, we are able to hear that.
Okay. Ma'am,
I don't know why somebody is running the video.
I have no idea.
See, can you hear?
No, ma'am, I can't hear.
So can you unmute your mic and hear and sort out this?
Ma'am, I can't sort out this problem from my end. This problem has to be sorted out from the participants' end only. Uh, Participants are suggesting me to identify that particular participant.
Can we identify them?
Ma'am, I'm not able to identify.
Yeah. Can we identify? Because can we identify him? Yeah, we are muting everyone.
If we are
Can we
muting
mute?
everyone. Yes, ma'am. Of course, we can mute.
Yeah. Now there is no voice.
Now there is no voice.
Yes.
I
So it
request you
comes
all.
again, then again. Yeah.
I request you all to please cooperate in this regard, so that the presentation can go on uninterrupted. Ma'am, you are the host. I think you can mute all the participants from your end.
No, I cannot mute.
All right, ma'am. I'm making you the host so that you can
somebody
mute.
is again played that. Yes.
I'm again changing your role to host, and you can mute the mics from now your end now. You can now mute it from your end. Yes, ma'am.
No, I am muted all. But I don't know why this play is coming. You see, today's recording is coming. So I will call the Rakesh first. Find it out. What is it? See, are you able to hear this? Are you able to hear this, Priyanka?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ अभी थोड़ा चला गया है लेकिन फिर थोड़ी देर में ही चालू हो जाता है वो देखो see somebody has unfortunately I think somebody has made the YouTube. You have shared the YouTube link in this chat.
Yes, ma'am. I did share.
No, I have seen that it has been shared.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I have
Somebody
shared.
might have put that on. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody might have put that on.
Yes, ma'am. That's quite possible. Now, how to sort this out?
I will ask Rakesh.
So, participants, if you allow me, can I continue? So, you are able to hear me. Can I continue? All right. All right. So, what are the challenges which are being encountered? You see, there are bidirectional power flows. You see, my distribution system was designed to handle the power flow in such a way that the power flow starts from source and it goes over to the load. But now I have this bidirectional power flow coming in. The microgrids are also feeding in power. The consumers, which have now become prosumers, they are also feeding in power. And there is a power coming from the generating station as well. So there is a bidirectional flow of power. So the distribution system has to be accordingly upgraded. Especially the protection coordination has to be done so that this bidirectional power flow can be handled. Stability issues. You see, when the microgrid is operating in grid connected mode and then islanded mode, and then there is a transition between grid connected and islanded mode, the transients would come in and the system can become unstable. And that is why this is again an important challenge, how to handle this stability issue. Low inertia. You see, if you look at the power system structure earlier, you had the generators which had very high inertia, the synchronous machines, they had very high inertia. But now you have the solar PV and the wind, which are being connected via power electronic interfaces. These power electronic interfaces have very low inertia. The low inertia can also be a boon. You see, the low inertia is also a boon because then it becomes very easy to control. But then it is also a problem because then they are susceptible to various transients and various stability issues. Uncertainty is obviously there because these sources are intermittent in nature. So, objectives of microgrid control are There should be voltage and frequency regulation for both the Very noisy. I can see that it is very noisy. Everyone.
what to do. That person can remove
Muted everyone. Adaptive. This access system available. Please mute all. Right. Availability of accurate measurement system, efficient data acquisition should be there. Then you should have the high-speed computational facilities, fast communication. I will just finish this off quickly because there is some problem. Trapta ma'am, I think from your end, the mics are getting automatically unmuted all the time.
No, I mute all many times.
So this is a microgrid structure with centralized control. So this is a microgrid, and these are, you can see that these are various sources which are being connected to this microgrid via a local controller. You see, there's a local controller to connect it to each of the source. There is a remote sensor which senses the voltage and frequency information from this microgrid, compares this with the reference, processes the error, feeds it to secondary control. Secondary control establishes the appropriate controlling parameters for each of the individual controller which is controlling the independent source. So you see, this is a centralized control wherein the entire control lies in the hand of the secondary, the microgrid central controller. The local controllers also operate on the command of the microgrid controller only. So this is a centralized controller. So what are the features? You see, Madam, there is a problem. I am not able to run my PPT. Yes. Data is gathered in a dedicated central controller that performs required calculations. So you have a dedicated central controller. This boss determines the controlling actions for all units as a single point. So there's a boss sitting over there, and all the employees have to report to him. And that boss will determine now what appropriate controlling action has to be taken if at all a problem comes. This requires extensive communication because every time the employee has to report to boss, all the employees have to report to boss. The boss will listen to all the employees and will communicate to each of them individually. So this requires extensive communication between the central controller and the control units. Decentralized control, on the other hand, you see, you have the primary control, you have the secondary control and the primary control for each of the source. So you have a dedicated controller. This is independent and this is also independent. And they are connecting via communication network. So what are the features? Each unit is controlled by its own local controller. So each controller receives only local information, not the information from all the sources. This is not fully aware of system-wide variables and other controllers' action. So you see, with a centralized controller, we have this problem that there is a single point of failure. If this boss fails, the entire control fails. In decentralized control, rather, we have this plus point that we have the individual control operating for every source. So there is no single point of failure. This is the major advantage associated with decentralized control. I'm going to quickly compare the features. If you compare the centralized controller from the decentralized one, the computational cost is very high in centralized because they have to gather information from all local controllers, and then it has to be processed, and then it has to be communicated to all the individual controllers. So this computational cost is very high. The communication facilities cost is also very high in centralized controller. It is quite low in decentralized one. Flexibility of expansion. Since you have a centralized structure, it is very difficult to integrate in that particular structure. But if it is a decentralized one, you have to bring it in a complete unit and then that can be integrated. Reliability, as we discussed, that this has got centralized has got a single point of failure. If the boss fails, the entire unit fails. Here it is very high. The reliability is very high. Implementation difficulty, centralized, it is low. With decentralized one, you got to have a dedicated controller for every unit, and that is why the implementation difficulty is high over here. Now, I'm just going to conclude with what we have as the Indian scenario. As of now, Indian Smart Grid Forum has been established, and this was established by Ministry of Power in 2010 to accelerate the development of smart grid technologies in the Indian power sector. We have this National Smart Grid mission, which was being launched by the Government of India in 2015. Under this mission, 14 pilot projects were launched, and they were in the implementation phase. I think 3 of them have withdrawn. 11 are still in the implementation phase. Some of them have completed. India is the fastest growing energy market in the world. We are growing at a rate of 12% in 2018. So you see, apart from population, this is one field where we are excelling, the energy market. After ratifying with the Paris Climate Agreement, India has pledged to generate about 40% of its electricity from non-fossil fuel, and that is a very big target. By 2030, about 40% of my electricity has to come from the renewable energy sources. MNRE has envisaged addition of 10,000 mini and microgrids with 500 megawatt of capacity by private players. So you see, you also have a role in this, and I also have a role in this if we decide to put in our efforts in this kind of scenario. So these are the approved pilot projects. You see, IIT Kanpur, they have already completed. Manesar has also completed. Chhattisgarh has withdrawn. Earlier, one was allotted to them. Chhattisgarh has withdrawn. I think Punjab has also withdrawn. Rest are in the implementation phase. So the presentation cannot be completed without the identification of research avenues. So I have certain things in my mind, which I will share with you people, so that if you can share this information with your research scholars, or you can also identify the topics of your interest. This is an ecosystem which relies heavily on real-time information acquisition, monitoring, decision-making, as well as management. So you see all those people who have their topics falling under this area: acquisition, monitoring, programming, control, management. They all can be a part of the smart grid ecosystem, and they all can lay their hands on the research in this area. Customer choice system and cost effectiveness: various startups can come in this area. You can have this customer choice systems based upon that, based upon time of use, based upon the customer comfort level, whether he wants to get his work done in the mornings or the evenings, the time scheduling of appliances, which can be cost effective as well as customer friendly. So I think this leads to a good startup idea. Intelligent load management, which is peak load, which involves peak load shaving, load leveling, peak shifting. This they all form, and optimization runs in the background of the intelligent load management. So all those people who are working in the field of artificial intelligence have their role over here. So you also can be a part of this. Online energy marketplaces, all those computer science people, you can put your hands on over here. The online energy marketplaces, they are the need of the hour. Spatial location as well as information acquisition, in network processing, propagation. Like computer science people can assist us a lot in this. Self healing, electrical people, you should be able to handle this by protecting the stability, fixing system fault, and reconfiguring the system if it is required. High reliability, flexibility, power quality in every aspect of smart grid that is required from. This is a completely interdisciplinary concept, and this has to come from every discipline. Integration of a wide variety of distributed generation, plug-in vehicles, storage system, they all form a part of the system. Minimization of operation and maintenance experiences. So a system is sustainable, a technology is sustainable only if it is cost effective. So if it is not cost effective, it is not sustainable at all. So that is why let us take some examples from real world, what the world is doing in this field. US Department of Energy is exploring blockchain technology as a line of defense against cyber attacks on power plants. So we were talking about security. So blockchain can be a technology which can be of help, and it can be used as a line of defense against cyber attacks on power plants. I think we have a lecture scheduled on blockchain as well. You all can get benefited from it. Blockchain is being used for trading excess solar energy in Switzerland. So you see, we talked about the online marketplaces. So this finds a place over there as well. AI techniques will form application in every area of power system planning and management. You talk about an area, artificial intelligence has to be there. So all those people who are working in artificial intelligence, they need to be a part of it for sure. So smart grid needs smart people like you. And you see, in the words of Thomas Edison, if we all did things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. So there is no limit to what we are capable of doing and what we can do. So thank you very much for this patience hearing, although there was a lot of disturbance which was coming in. But I would like to take in some questions if you have some. You can always, I'm always available. This is my mail ID. I'm available on this. You can text me, you can mail me, and you can ask your queries if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer it. So if there are any queries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very informative, very much informative lecture, and people have written so much good about as a feedback. Only thing is there is little bit disturbances.
A lot of disturbance, ma'am. There was a lot of disturbance. And
so that actually we need to see. Actually, as a common etiquette, it is requested again and again from the participant. Just mute your mic. And whenever you want to ask question, you can unmute that and ask a question. So that is not an issue.
Yeah, that can always be.
If you have any question, if you have any question, you can ask right now from Priyanka.
Hello.
You can unmute. Yes, sir.
Ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, one by one, please. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. My question was that I am from the SIR. My question was that in the 5G network, the security will be more challenging or it will be resolved? Because when in the IoT, the 4G network, there is very much challenging story. In the 5G
Yes.
network, will be resolved or not?
You see, we already had lots of issues with 4G network, and this 5G is still under the experimental phase. Many of the countries have put it on the experimental basis. And as we go with a new system, there comes new challenges. So I think with the 5G system, they must have worked on this factor and to keep it as secure as possible, because there the security can be a really big challenge. So as far as, in my opinion, there it would be a bigger challenge, and IT people need to work on this.
Yeah, they are still working
Ma'am.
for 5G.
Ma'am.
It is not
Yes, ma'am.
finally
Yes, ma'am.
come up. And tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we have one person who works on the cyber security from US.
Ma'am, there is someone who's willing to ask a question. Let us take the question
Yeah,
first.
Ma'am,
Your name first.
Rucha Patwardhan.
Right, Rucha. Tell me.
Patwardhan, yeah, please.
Ma'am, can you throw some light on open access implementation? Means smart grid in
Yes. So see,
transmission and distribution open access.
so you see, we have been talking about this online marketplaces. You see, as of now, the transmission is utility owned. Generation has already been
Yes.
it has been already been gone. It has already been
Yeah.
place. It has been decentralized.
Yes.
Transmission is the only thing which is utility owned. So in future,
Yes.
it can so happen that this can also become a part of this open access thing, and we can see a smart grid with this kind of feature as well. I definitely see a future in this.
Okay, ma'am. But again, any security issues?
Security
in that?
issues will definitely see whatever as the flow of information increases, Rucha, the security issues will always be there. So since we are floating in more information, there will be more security issues, and with transmission system this becomes even more important, because a larger part of the grid would then be affected. So we really have to give it a thought before we actually bring it into the implementation phase.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you,
Any other
ma'am.
questions? Thank you. Any other questions from the participants?
Ma'am, can you repeat the research avenue first slide, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, Rucha, one request from Rucha. Please mute your mic.
Yes, ma'am. I'm about to do that.
All right. So this is a slide I'm repeating for you, sir. This is on research avenues. We talked about the information acquisition, monitoring.
Ma'am,
Yes.
slow. I'm taking the snapshot, please.
Rakesh Kumarji, is it Rakesh Kumarji?
Yeah,
Rakesh Kumarji, we'll be sharing this all on the YouTube.
ma'am,
You
that
can
is the
access-
YouTube. Basically, this is the main point on which the research
All right.
can be written.
You can
for this.
please
Yeah,
take the snapshot. I'm waiting.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Shall I move to the next slide now? Rakesh ji?
Wait, ma'am. Wait.
Yeah, sure. You're working in this
Yes,
area,
ma'am.
Rakesh ji?
Yeah, ma'am, I am the professor in the SIRT department.
Okay, Rakesh ji. With electrical department?
No, that's the IT department. And my research area is the IoT.
Okay.
Yes.
So this also you can take if you want.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions from the participants?
Ma'am, nice presentation, ma'am. That's
Rakesh ji, there was a lot of disturbance, and we are very sorry for that. And you all,
no.
I mean, like, thank you all for your patience hearing. I hope you all will get benefited from it. And if there are any queries, please feel free to mail it to me.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So we will break for the lunch.
Yes, ma'am. We should break for the lunch, and we should give them a break of at least 1 hour.
Okay. So we will be back at 2.
All right, ma'am.
No. What is the schedule actually? Schedule is
Schedule it starts. Yeah, it starts at 2 only.
yeah.
So we have another speaker.
Yeah, another speaker at 2.
We should stick to it.
Participants, we will come back at 2. And in the 2, after lunch, we have a session by Dr. Mohit Kulshrestha. He is a very experienced person, and I'm sure he is going to talk about data and analytics in a very interesting way. So let us see you all at 2 p.m.
All right. Thank you all once again. And thank you all for patience hearing. And I'm very motivated by the feedbacks which you are giving. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.